during time. But I want to say thank y'all for being here. One of the things that I've heard since I've gotten here, and I feel like I'm really loud. One of the things I've heard since I've gotten here is just working on communication, just as a church, because that's kind of been like an issue in the past, and so that's why we did the cottage meetings, and I did the I sent the report out a little later this year. And today I just wanted to have kind of like a visioning message, so you can take time to think about and pray about the future of the church and everything else, so you can see where we are. Where we were, where we are, and what we're looking to in the future. As I was thinking about this, the question kept coming to my mind: why is Pollard UMC still here? I mean, think about it. There has been so much junk that this church has had to deal with in the past 5-10 years, right? Why is Pollard UMC still here? We can easily miss this, and I want you to hear me loud and clear on this. God is not done with this church. And that is where we start. Yes, there are things that we need to constantly work on. Yes, there are things we need to improve, but we start with the reality. God is not done with this church. We are here all because of God's grace. We are here because God still has something to do. We are here because God is using Pollard in incredible ways to reach out and expand His kingdom, not just in Tyler, but around the nation and around the world, which reaches far out into the universe, farther than we can see, farther than the east is from the west. The reason Pollard UMC is still here is because God is not done with us yet. I am so excited about that. You know, last week, I finally had to get new glasses. You laugh. But for several years, I have needed to get bifocals, and I have not wanted to do that. So my wife finally said, well, is it because of the line? Are you vain? I said, absolutely I am. So then she's been trying for the past 4 years or so to try to get me to do progressive lenses. So obviously I did it right away. Nope. So this past week, I have been getting used to these new frames. Now, when I got these, they told me that it's going to take some getting used to because I have 3 focal points to see. I can see out far, I can see a little closer, and I can see close up here. And depending what I need to focus on, depends on where I need to look through. As we think about the future of the church, what part of our vision are we looking at? Are we trying to see far away things with the close-up mirror, trying to look at everything that's wrong? Are we trying to look at close-up things with the far-away lens and just not paying attention to what we need to? Or can we look and adjust our line of sight to see what God is doing, whether or not we can see it right now? God is not done with us yet. Say those words. God is not done with us yet. So as we think about visioning, as we think about who we are, I love the story of Nehemiah. In Nehemiah chapter 1, the first thing he does is he repents on behalf of the nation of Israel to confess the sins to God and says, God tells him, basically, look, I'm still with you. And in Nehemiah 2, he gets this boldness within him to where he tells people, come, let us rebuild Jerusalem. Let us rebuild. That is what we are doing right now. Yes, it is hard work. Yes, there are things that we're going to look at and we may not have paid attention to before, but we are doing that now because we want to be strong on the foundation of who God says we are. So the question we have to think about are, how far are we willing to look into the future? How far are we willing to plan? How far are we willing to see the future generations for this church? A very important question that we start off now with is, how much do we truly trust God to provide even if things may look scary. And there's nothing really scary right now. But we always need to think about and consider how much we are trusting God. And so, as the pastor here, I pose that question to you. How much are you trusting God? And then, how are you willing to step out in faith and trust God to provide and to guide? Are we willing to trust God and then step out in faith for what God may have? When we look back at the cottage meetings, I loved those. I was exhausted at the end of them, but it was an incredible time. The biggest thing that happened out of the cottage meetings was all of the hope that is here for Pollard. All the hope. It was talked about it as a family, as home, as a place where you can be cared for, as a place where you are loved. And one of the things I tell people is Pollard is a church that tells the truth about itself. You say you are hospitable. You say you are faithful. You say you are caring. And that's the truth. If you want a vision cast right now, think about what you are already telling people about who Pollard is. That's the vision. We are people who care for each other like family, whether we're new or not. Because it's all about people. It's not about programs. It's not about buildings. It's all about relationships. That has been the core DNA of Pollard. And that was said time and time and time again in every one of the cottage meetings. And as I put the report together, that's one of the things that just stood out, is there is so much hope here. There are obviously concerns of an aging population. There's concerns of looking to reach younger families. There's always going to be financial concerns. We've talked about there's a communication concern. And, even in the midst of the concerns, people are still looking to see what we can do to step out and reach out. Because deep down inside, God is not through with us yet. There is still a lot that we can do. So there are many things that we have here. The theater is an incredible group. I love how the theater reaches out and brings different people into the productions. KK is a fantastic children's ministry. Boy Scouts are here. We have a lot of different community groups, such as AA, such as TOPS, that meet here. This is a place for the community to come to. So it's not solely a place where people come to worship God. This is a place where people can be transformed through the power and grace of God through Jesus Christ. So this is a loving church. This is a serving church. This is a church with strong roots. And not just in our faith, because there is a deep connection to Christ here. But this is also a church that has strong familial roots. Meaning you want to be connected to each other. Over the past 6 months, I have seen more people than before step out and introduce themselves to visitors to make sure that they know who they are. And sometimes the response will be, "Oh, I've been here for years," and the church member's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that." But they're reaching out. This is a church with strong roots. It's such a loving church. And like Nehemiah, we don't rebuild for ourselves. We rebuild and we work towards future generations. Everything I do, I am thinking personally, even in my family life, I am thinking 10, 20, 50 years beyond me. Everything we do now will set us up to reach future generations 50 to 100 years from now. Who we are now the things we decide to do, the things we step out and faithful to do are going to be implanted into our DNA in a way that really shines through so that future generations are going to find Jesus Christ here. And that is incredible. So who are we? Acts chapter 2 paints the picture of a devoted church, of a church who is committed to the teaching of the apostles, committed to gathering together in communion and fellowship. They're devoted to prayer. And so Pollard UMC, from everything I've seen over this past almost year, to everything I keep hearing from people, Pollard UMC, if you really want to know who you are a people devoted to Scripture and prayer. You are a people devoted to fellowship and community. You are a people devoted to worship and music. Oh, and let's talk about the music. What an incredible gift we have here. Because music helps propel us into the heavenly realms in ways that mere words cannot do. We are extremely blessed to have all the different kinds of music here. And that is a testament to who Pollard is. Pollard is also devoted to caring for people in all kinds of times of life and into mission to service. And the truth is, that's who the church started to be. That's who the church continues to be. When you look at the 71-year history of the church, you can see consistency. You can see highs and lows. You can see stepping out in faith. But you see these core principles of being devoted to Scripture, devoted to prayer, devoted to fellowship and community, devoted to music and worship, devoted to mission and service, and devoted for caring for people during any stage in life. This church has a leading history to reaching out. This church was one of the first churches to really develop a theater program to reach out to provide incredible culture to the community, because that's who our demographics were and that's who our demographics still are today. People who desire culture and desire to be part of something more than just showing up to do whatever. Lost my train of thought there, but this is a church that is committed to enriching people's lives. That's what I was trying to say. They're committed to enriching people's lives. One of the quotes that I saw all the time when I was in seminary, when I was in the library, and I was in the library a lot, part of the reason why I need reading glasses today. But there's this quote on the wall. I forget who it's by, but it stood out. And I live my life by this motto. Attempt something so big that unless God intervenes, it is bound to fail. It's people who step out in faith and trust that God's going to intervene and do things that we never dreamed possible. I've heard it said this week that every pastor has his or her pet projects for a church. I have none for this church. Everything I'm about to tell you has shown up here. No one sought it out. No one tried to reach out and expand into this. Everything was just brought about here. I'm going to take the roof, for example. As soon as we're done here and we do a blessing of the roof, I'm going to have Levi. Levi, stand up for me. Levi's the person, he's going to tell you how he got started with Priority Roofing to come and help us with our roof. That's one example of how God came here and brought something here. Back in November, we had the special needs teacher of Andy Woods Elementary come to us and say that they wanted to start a summer camp for special needs children. And they wanted to see if we were able to have space for them to do that. So we began talking about it. We began doing research. And I want you to know this right now. I have pledges and I have support for this. So I'm fully funded for this summer, and plus there's extra money coming in. So Pollard UMC will begin a special needs ministry beginning June 1. And let me tell you how cool that is. 70% of families with special needs ministry, with special needs children, do not come to church. They are kicked out of grocery stores. They're kicked out of restaurants. They're kicked out of churches because the children are just disruptive in the minds of other people. But we have a special place where they can come here. Now, big question that may be surfacing in your head is who's going to lead that? I'm not asking for any volunteers. In fact, we're not doing any volunteers to help with it because we want to ensure the safety and quality of everything that goes on with these incredible kids. So we are hiring, and everything's paid for this, so hear that. We are hiring 3 teachers from Andy Woods who know these children to be here and work with these kids and provide a respite care for their families. That is huge. One of the other things that we are doing is we are revamping how we look at care ministries. We're looking at how we want to make sure that no one falls through the cracks. So beginning July 1, Deborah Wade is going to be our director of care, and she's working with Peggy Raymer and Barbara McElroy, and they are working on a new funnel system to make sure that people get the right care that they need, whether it's pastoral care, whether it's a care for financial assistance or extra food, or maybe they just need someone to sit and listen to them, or they need someone to visit them in the hospital. Whatever the need might be, we are working to make sure that anybody who contacts this church is going to be cared for by the right people who are able to help. Yes, they may ask you to do that, help part of that, but it's going to be part of your gifts. It's not really anything extra. This is a way that we are looking to reach out to help make sure that anybody who comes to Pollard is cared for. And we know about it because there are always people that slip through the cracks, and we don't mean that, but this is a step that we are taking to make sure that we are reaching out to the people who need care. We are looking at investing in further community partnerships. And what I mean by that is looking at how we can develop a further relationship with this organization called KATD, which is Kids Aspiring to Dream, which is like underprivileged and underserved children are learning fine arts. And you know, Pollard has an incredible music program. Did you know that? We have an incredible music director here and a decent guitarist next to her. But we are looking for ways to reach out so that they can have a safe place to learn sacred music, yes, but to also hear the voice of God speak to them through music. We're also looking at how we can develop more partnerships with TJC and UT Tyler. And yes, Jane knows about all this. I'm not telling her any of this right now for the first time. One of the questions is, how big are we willing to dream? How big are we willing to dream? How big are we willing to do something so big that unless God intervenes, it's bound to fail? I don't know about y'all. I have failed many times in my life. And you know what? Every single time I've failed, I have grown stronger. I have learned lessons. I have seen God do incredible works. Just how He made me a stronger and better person. I've messed up as a pastor. Not here yet. No, I'm kidding. But you know, the truth is, if we only look at flaws and how we fail, we miss what God is doing in our lives. So yes, I invite us to fail so that we can see how God is using us to be strengthened and go forward for the future hope of God's people. Because that is the DNA of the church. We don't know what the future is going to hold. We can have everything planned out, every jot and tittle taken out, but the truth of the matter is everything could collapse tomorrow, and the only thing we have is the hope we have in Jesus Christ. Habakkuk chapter 2 says, make a vision. And here's the truth. I don't come to you as a pastor today saying, this is who we're going to be. I'm telling you who you are. Your church devoted to Scripture. Your church caring for people. A church who is willing to do what it takes to make sure that the less fortunate have what they need. That's really the vision of this church. I invite you to take that and soak it in. And this is where we're going now. This is not a brand new start. This is reclaiming who we already are. Because remember, Pollard UMC is a leader in the Tyler area. I know you may not see that or think that now, but people watch what happens here at our church. People want to copy the things that you do. People are amazed conference-wide at your faith and how you step out and do incredible things by God's grace. So Mosaic 139 gets to be a flagship to help care for special needs community. And let me tell you what I think is really cool. Oh, that's the name of the special needs ministry. Mosaic 139, because it's different pieces put together making something beautiful. 139 from Psalm 139:14, which is, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The vision is for a place for all God's people to have a safe place where they can be all God created them to be. What's unique about this program is we're not starting it ourselves. We had someone come here to say, I want to do this. We have been praying, you have been praying fervently for years for God to do great things. God's bringing incredible stuff here to remind you of what your purpose here, to remind you that He's still with you. And if God brings stuff here, He's going to make sure it doesn't fail. Because our God is not a failure God. Our God is a God who can do anything He can. And we're looking at ways to grow children and youth. We're looking at, what is my word here? Music arts. We're growing our music arts, how we can reach out and try to find extra people to come in and teach and incorporate these different ways to help people reach and experience God. Working on different small groups and discipleships. I have some people working on bringing back midweek activities so we can have a discipleship group and meet people during the week and not just on Sunday mornings. Because like I say a lot, Pollard UMC does an incredible amount of stuff before 4 p.m. But to reach younger people, I invite us to look beyond 4 p.m. to meet people where they are and just see what we can do. You may be thinking, well, I don't know what younger people like to do. Actually, yes, you do. Because the reality is, the same stuff, the same activities, even knitting and crocheting that you like to do, 30-year-olds and younger are looking to learn how to do that. There is a whole generation now of people who are desiring to learn this creativity. And what better way than trying to find ways and spaces to bring people together? And so we're exploring midweek opportunity. Like I said, we're exploring new educational opportunities that can serve the community, as well as provide financial sustainability for here in Pollard. And remember, this is not about being a different church. This is about living who God is calling us to be. This is about reclaiming the core identity of who we are. Now, how is this possible? Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. God can do immeasurably more than we can ever ask or imagine. He can bring us things to help make sure that we can get this done, because God is going to make sure His stuff gets done. And so we are always looking for opportunities to examine our trust in God's provision and guidance as we step forward. It's not about budget. This is about vision. It's about people and who we can help. 71 years ago, there was a group of people that stepped out in faith. Their legacy is still here today. You are part of that legacy, whether you were here 71 years ago or not. They gave, they sacrificed, they built, they believed. When there was nothing in this area, they still stepped out in faith and said, we're putting Pollard UMC here. And you know, they were struggling to find land and where they were going to put the church. And God somehow put in the heart of a particular family, you may know them, Pollards, to donate land so that they can be here. Because of the faith of the people that came before us, we get to see what God is still doing among us. Now, yes, we still have an old loan of $190,000 left to pay off from the old roof. Yes, we borrowed money from ourselves of about $155,000 to pay for the roof. We've already gotten $25,000 of that back. So you may have questions about that. I'm going to tell you right now. Here's what happened with the story of the roof. We got here. In July, in the board meeting, they were talking about the roof, and my personality is such that, look, we're either going to find a way to fix this or we're just not going to talk about it because there's no point in complaining. I think Bob and Seaburn remember that. It's like, we're going to find a way to do it. 4 months later, Priority Roofing came back at us. We had already gotten a bid from them before. It was roughly $850,000. Levi has been talking with Jack and a few different people. And then in November, I had a really cool lunch with some people who wanted to give well over $100,000 to the roof so we can get a new roof. Priority Roofing, right after that, came down $350,000. You want to know how God provides? That's how. I don't know how things are always going to work out. I don't have all the answers. Neither do you. But God does, because God is not done with us yet. God is always looking for people to step out and believe. All we need to do is look at what's already been done and see how we can trust God in the future. Who is God asking us to reach? Who is God inviting us to? Mosaic 139, the special needs ministry, are going to have families that are going to be able to find safety and peace here. And then they're going to find faith through you as a community. We're looking at youth ministry to help teenagers find faith in God through Jesus Christ. I don't know if you know this or not, but Smith County is one of the highest counties of suicide rates in the entire state of Texas. You also don't know this, but Peggy Raymer has been working with elementary schools, and we're still working on it, but we're working on putting a grief share program to reach out to families in grief and in need so that we can be a support for them there. We're going to be a place where children can learn faith here. So we're re-looking at children's. We're looking at college students and how college students are looking for hope, how families are looking for hope and belonging. And, you know, that's why we give. All we have to do is see what we have been praying and asking God for, and then trust that He's going to be present. What would it look like to have all of that stuff? More children, more youth, college students, It's not anything new. It's part of the history of Pollard. What would it look like to have an associate pastor again? Not because I can't handle it, but because there's new opportunities. What would it look like to find ways to fund everything possible? These are things that we really need to think about. And right now, one of the things that I'm going to just tell you, some of the things that I am working on, is I'm casting this vision, and I'm just being honest with the state of the church today. I have been in conversations with foundations and grants to tell them about the mission of Pollard, because I'm seeking extra funding and support to help us here. Because I know we can't do this on our own. But I know that there are people and places in the community, and even extra people here, who can support, who can work, and who God is speaking to. Over the coming weeks, I'm going to work on some promotional videos that we can send out to tell people the story of Pollard. Because one of the things I heard over and over again in the cottage meetings is that Pollard is Tyler's best kept secret. Let's tell the people about who God is and how God is working through us here at Pollard. I've already had conversations with, and I'm looking at hiring a full-time grant writer. Now that word hiring gets to some people, but let me tell you this. The way we do that is through the grant writer that gets a percentage of the grant that can come in. And so we can have someone work with us to help reach these extra funding opportunities. I'm looking at having a vision banquet in September or October, and also a time of stewardship in October, so that we can invite the community to tell people who we are. I believe we're going to have new families from our special needs ministry that are coming in. They're going to help support this church. And so I can put my money where my mouth is. I am upping my tithe, and I'm starting with this today. I am extremely serious about when I say step out in faith. I look at this, and I think that this is about a half week of groceries for me at my house. I lied. A day's worth of groceries for me in my house. But we have income opportunities coming in. Midweek events for discipleship. That's extra giving opportunities, extra discipleship opportunities, new college connections. And, the truth is, nothing is guaranteed, and I'm nervous. But I know the one who holds all of us together. I've also heard that Pollard UMC is an incredibly generous church. I know that to be true. I've also heard the phrase, when you ask. So I'm asking. I'm not asking you to change anything that you do, but I am asking you to prayerfully consider if you're able to give a little bit more. $10 to $100 a month. That's all I'm really asking. Because if we work together, imagine how God continually works through us. So I have commitment cards that we'll pass out. And it gives you a chance to think about how God is asking you to be involved here. And here's the truth. Some people are going to give that haven't done before. Some people are going to give and they're going to keep their giving the same. Some people are going to give and give a little bit more. Some people may give and give a lot more. That's not what, so there's no guilt trip here. And here's the deal. If you feel in your heart God is not asking you to give any more, or you don't have it, absolutely no guilt here. That is okay. I'm just asking if you are able to. What may God be asking you to step out in faith in to trust Him? It doesn't affect how much I get paid. It doesn't affect any salaries. All it does is it affects how much we can reach out and expand our outreach to the community. And so I'm asking you to pray. and just pray, God, what do you want to do through me for the future of your church? The same God who was faithful in the beginning is still with us and is still faithful today. If you want to know the state of Pollard UMC, it's an incredible amount of opportunity and potential. Now, you know the answer to this question. Why is Pollard UMC still here? Why is Pollard UMC still here? Why is Pollard UMC still here? And that is the state of this church. Amen. All glory to God. Thank you. And now, we're going to step outside for a blessing of the roof. I'm going to have, when we step outside, we're going to bury it right over here.
Testing. Hi, everybody. I'm Levi from Priority. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much, Pastor Ryan, Jack, Bob, for giving me an opportunity and trusting me with this process and this project. I know that it's been a rough road, and I'm grateful to be part of the healing and the restoration versus more of the hurt. And this state of the church was very inspirational for me because I have a very large goal, and I hear it in my heart, in my spirit. How can we ask small things of a God that can do all things? And I believe that that's a word for this church as well. Behind us, we have some of the pictures of the old church. As you can see, this is where we used to be. In some senses, the roof was more of a shower facility with all of the leaks. I believe when I first got here, we had some leaks over there, so that was the pre-baptism section, the pre-soaking. And then I'm just super grateful to be part of the restoration. Another thing that we have done, which is going to be a blessing for the church in the future of the facility, is we've added an inch of ISO across the entire building, which is insulation. So we've increased the R value. And what that means for y'all is instead of on top of the gym, where you have a big black dark hole where the sun, that beautiful 3-digit Texas heat with 100% humidity comes and makes the building crack, we should see a great reduction in strain on the AC units, as well as being able to keep more of the cool air in during the summers and more of the hot air in during the winters as well. Better insulation. And then as you see up here right now, this is a wide view from the top down, looking at everything that got restored. So there is not a, yeah, that's a parking lot, forgive me. I was looking at that, I was like, I'm pretty sure we did that roof. The theater building, completely new roof. We're getting ready to bury one of the clay tiles. And now we have architectural shingles along the sanctuary as well. We have new TPO layover on the flat portions, as well as architectural shingles. So no longer do we have asbestos shingles. Apologies if you really enjoyed the aesthetics of them. It is something that is a carcinogen, so we're wanting to help reclaim and make Tyler healthier as well. Again, thank you all so much for your trust. One thing that I ask is that you keep me in prayer. Out of this church and the entire situation that you all have gone through, I've developed a new program to help other churches in similar situations. And this program is called, thank you. Because churches oftentimes get into a place where nobody's really looking out for them. I've nicknamed myself the Storm Shepherd in that sense. to help protect the churches. Just as Pastor Ryan is a pastor and shepherd over all of y'all and looks out for your best interests and helps to keep the wolves away, this is something that I look to do to help other churches. And one of the ways that we do that is we start with baseline assessments. And from there, we evaluate what kind of condition their facility is in. And then we also can intake their insurance policy and have a licensed public adjuster review them and give them exact clarity. So there's no question marks in the event that they do need to file for a claim for storm damage, but they can know exactly what's covered and what's not covered. And then last but not least, we have them signed up for a rapid response program. In the event that a storm were to hit, we have the ability to be on site between 48 and 72 hours. And that could look like something as simple as a wellness visit, or it can be emergency mitigation services, so Sunday services and midweek get-togethers are not interrupted. So thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for trusting, and I look forward to keeping this place watertight.